I'm thrilled to introduce our new regional director, my brilliant niece, Paige Monroe. The champagne flutes chimed, and the room broke into easy applause. I didn't move. My hands were flat on my lap like they'd been stapled there. 8 weeks. Paige had been at Hale Dynamics for exactly 8 weeks. I'd built the operations team for 3 years and had been told, twice, that the director role was a formality. The only formality I saw was the one where my father-in-law, CEO Victor Hale, lifted his glass over my head as if I were part of the decor. Across the long table, his eyes flicked to me. Guilt, then steel. He looked away. And a special thanks to Nora Delgado, he continued, the tone I knew too well, warm with a thin layer of condescension. Paige has already learned so much shadowing Nora. I know Nora will continue to support her. Support. I forced a smile that didn't reach my eyes and clapped. The sound felt hollow, like a spoon hitting an empty bowl. After the meeting, I walked the corridor that still smelled faintly like new carpet and power. I'm so sorry, whispered Marge from accounting when she passed my door. I nodded. Senior Operations Manager stayed bold on my nameplate, but it felt like a costume. My phone buzzed. Evan, so? Official? I typed, we'll talk tonight, and set the phone face down. At 5, Victor leaned into my doorway. Got a minute? He sat, ring flashing under the fluorescent light. I know today wasn't easy. Was it? You're invaluable here. Paige is sharp, but she'll need structure. I want to spin your role into something advisory. You'll guide the transition. Train her to do my job. I didn't raise my voice. To help her succeed, he said, smoothing the word like butter over burned toast. Then the line I will never forget, family looks out for family. Paige needs this. You're secure, Nora. You don't need the title. There it was. Not a business decision. A family redistribution of power. I thought of the missed dinners, the Sunday night slide decks, the 12-person team I had scaled to 49 without losing a single key account. Security wasn't what I wanted. I wanted honesty. I wanted the thing I'd been promised. I should get home, I said, standing. Evan's cooking. He looked relieved, as if the crisis had been downgraded to a scheduling conflict. Tell my son I said hi. The highway home was red brake lights and my own pulse. At the kitchen table, Evan slid a plate toward me, then watched my face. I told him everything. He reached for his phone. I'm calling him. No. I touched his wrist. It's mine to handle. The next morning I wore my calmest smile and my navy suit. At 9 sharp, Paige arrived, glossy and enthusiastic. Nora. I'm so excited to learn from you. We'll start with the Ashland Logistics account, I said, opening a dashboard I could run in my sleep. For 2 hours I translated practice into rules: no promises you can't keep, front-load buffers, never let a Friday problem roll to Monday. When she asked what to do if Ashland threatened to walk, I watched her face pale when I said, then our warehouse team's overtime becomes non-negotiable, because that one account pays for a third of this floor. By noon my patience was thin. I microwaved soup in the break room and heard Victor's voice through the thin wall. Transition smooth. Paige has fresh ideas. Paige murmured, Nora seems essential. Clients keep asking for her. That's the problem, Victor said. They lean on her. We need to reset. Challenge their expectations. My spoon hovered. Reset. The word was polite for break what works. She'll adapt, he added. She always does. Reliable. Predictable. And where else is she going to go at her age? My hands started to shake. Not rage, something colder, cleaner. A decision forming. At home that night, the tea went cold while I wrote a letter with no adjectives. 2 paragraphs. Thank you for the opportunities. My last day will be the 15th. I printed it. Signed it. Slept better than I had in months. At 10 the next morning, I placed the envelope on Victor's desk. He slid it open, read, and flushed. "You can't be serious." "I am. This is about the promotion. We can talk." Title bump. More scope. "It's about respect," I said, still seated. "And the fact that I've heard enough to understand I won't get it here. Nora. I'm done being predictable." He paced. "What do you want? Money? The corner office? I want to work where results matter more than last names." I stood, nodded to Marie at reception, and walked back to my office lighter than I'd felt in years. The phone started ringing within the hour. Word travels fast in buildings like ours. 2 weeks after my last day, a number I didn't know lit up my phone. "Nora Delgado?" "Rebecca Chen from Brightline Logistics. Daniel Ashland suggested I reach out." I set my mug down too hard. Ashland Logistics. The client I'd kept through a warehouse fire, a software meltdown, and one spectacular vendor failure. I'd wondered if they noticed I was gone. Turns out they had. "We're hiring a regional operations director," Rebecca said. "Your name came up 3 times in one meeting." An hour later, I had an email with a salary that beat my old one by 30%, stock options, and a scope that made me catch my breath, 3 divisions, enterprise accounts, a mandate to fix what breaks. Interviews moved fast. The questions were clear. No trick logic puzzles. No family subtitles under the words. When CEO Marcus Williams asked why I left Hale Dynamics, I skipped the polite half-truth. I hit a ceiling that had nothing to do with performance. He nodded. "We don't build ceilings here." On my first day at Brightline, the building surprised me. Not because it was shiny, plenty of shiny buildings hold bad faith, but because everyone I met knew what good looked like and would say it out loud. My interim counterpart, Sarah Vega, could have been protective after months of holding the line. Instead, she handed me a binder that wasn't performative and said, "We've been bleeding time on the Anderson Group. I've read your Ashland playbooks. Want to tear into this together? Expertise. Not reliability. Not she'll adapt. Expertise." I spent my first week listening more than talking. I mapped email choke points, shadowed dispatch at 6 a.m., and sat with client success through 2 awkward status calls. Then I drew something simple on the whiteboard, 3 swim lanes. Sales, ops, client. "Everyone thinks they own the last mile," I said. "Right now no one does. Give it to ops and formalize the handoffs." Marcus asked me to present it to the board. I expected resistance. I got questions that made the plan better. "Remind me," he said on the way out, "you were never a director at Hale?" "Not qualified," I deadpanned. "Too predictable." He laughed. "Predictable delivery is what we sell." The Anderson save was my first real test. I prepped like it was a merger. We walked in with receipts, not apologies. Sarah ran the retrospective. I ran the forward plan. At hour 3, their COO leaned back and said, "If you can do this, we'll extend by 40%. "We can," I said. "But we'll prove it first." We rescued their quarter. Word got around. People started copying me on emails I hadn't been invited to. Marcus pulled me into the exec Tuesday. "We undervalued this role," he said plainly. "Want to formalize a retention unit under you?" At Hale, more responsibility had always been code for do extra for the same thank you. Here it meant headcount, budget, and authority to pull the fire alarm when needed. I said yes. By month 3, my team had grown to 18. Metrics ticked up. More importantly, the temperature in the room dropped. People weren't sprinting at 8 p.m. to fix 2 p.m. mistakes. The system caught problems before clients did. Then the industry whispers started. At a networking lunch, Janet from Pacific Ledger leaned in. "You didn't hear this from me, but Hale Dynamics left 3 of our invoices hanging for weeks. Also, whoever replaced you takes forever to call back." I kept my face neutral. Hope it stabilizes for them. 2 weeks later, my phone lit up with Daniel. We're moving our business, he said. We tried, Nora. Missed calls. Vague answers. A disaster shipment. When we escalated, Victor told us to embrace their new direction. I pressed my thumb into the desk. I felt no triumph. Just clarity. When you choose familiarity over competence, you don't just lose one person. You pull a thread. Rebecca knocked on my door. 3 former Hale clients requested proposals. Each mentioned you. I want to read on the ethics. If they came to us, we answer, I said. No poaching. No gloating. Just better work. We signed 4 by quarter's end. With growth came hiring. When Marge called me at home, her voice shook. They're whispering layoffs, she said. It's not your fault, but, well, some of us are scared. Send me your resume, I said. We need a controller who can herd cats. She started at Brightline a month later. Watching her find her footing was better than any petty revenge. The invitation arrived 6 months to the day after I resigned. Heavy cardstock. Gold foil. Hale Dynamics Annual Awards Gala. Victor's signature scrolled at the bottom. You're not going, Evan said, reading over my shoulder. I might, I said. I want to see who I am in that room now. The grand pavilion sparkled like it always had. Same ice sculptures. Same centerpieces. Different me. I wore deep green silk and didn't feel like I had to apologize for taking up space. Rebecca came as my +1 and grinned at the lobby bar. Pure anthropology, she whispered. The cocktail hour felt like hallway déjà vu half hugs. Careful smiles. A few real ones. Tom from accounting raised his glass. Place isn't the same, he said. Marge landing at Brightline made a lot of us update our resumes. The lights dimmed. Victor walked on stage. He looked older, less invincible, more human. This year challenged us, he began. We've learned about adaptation and the cost of overlooking what holds us together. He scanned the room and found me. Didn't look away. Awards rolled by. Sales. Customer care. Innovation. Then Victor cleared his throat. Our final recognition is new. Excellence in leadership. It goes to someone no longer with Hale Dynamics, whose standard still shapes our work. Nora Delgado, please join me. For a second I couldn't stand. Rebecca touched my elbow. Go. Victor met me near the stairs with a crystal wedge that threw light in hard angles. Thank you, he said into the mic. 4 years of consistency and care for our clients. I took the mic and faced the room where I had once measured my own value by whether anyone noticed how late I stayed. I used to think loyalty was a straight exchange, I said. You give it. You get it back. But loyalty without respect turns into servitude. The last year taught me that the right place doesn't need you to prove your worth on repeat. It uses it. A few claps. A few tight faces. Paige stared at her lap. I didn't relish it. I'm grateful for what I learned here, I added. Not because it ended well, but because it showed me how to choose better. I handed the mic back. The applause started uneven, then steadied. Not everyone clapped. Enough did. After the lights came up, Victor found me by the exit. That was pointed, he said, tired more than angry. It was honest. We're restructuring, he said. If you ever wanted to talk about. No, I said, gentle and final. 6 months ago, I wanted to prove something. Now I don't. He swallowed. We are struggling. You're paying for a decision that felt comfortable at the time, I said. You can still fix things. Just start where it hurts. He nodded, and for the first time since I'd known him, he looked like someone who might actually listen. Rebecca and I stepped into the garage night air. How does it feel to have the last word? She asked. It's not the last word, I said. It's the first day that the old story stops writing me. At home, Evan had tea waiting. I placed the crystal next to a photo from my first day at Brightline. 2 objects. 1 lesson. I didn't need revenge. I needed a room that let me be excellent without apology. The next morning I went in early. The office glowed with that quiet pre-day light that makes everything look possible. Sarah waved me into a 9 a.m. with Anderson's COO. We reviewed the quarter and laughed about the only kind of predictability worth bragging about: on-time trucks, clean dashboards, and people who called when they said they would. Whatever you did, the COO said at the end, don't stop. I won't, I said. And I meant that more broadly than logistics. Later, Marge knocked on my door with a spreadsheet that hummed. You're right, she said. I shouldn't have been scared to start over. None of us should, I said. We just forget until something reminds us. By lunch, the last of my Hail emails had auto-forwarded to an archive I'd never open. By 3, we signed a 5th former Hail account without once saying their name. By 5, I went home proud of the most ordinary win in the world, a day where the work and the credit matched. That night I texted Evan a photo of the 2 objects on the shelf. He replied, looks like a before and after. I wrote, more like a catalyst and a compass. If you've ever been called reliable like it's a ceiling, here's the thing no one tells you: predictability is power when it's yours. Give it to a place that treats it like gold, not glue.